Hi, this is Lori Simmons with Armed Forces Insurance, and you're listening to Lifegiver.
Welcome to the Lifegiver Marriage Podcast, a place for honest conversation and hope for your military or first responder marriage. This is your host, Corey Weathers, and I'm honored to share this journey with you.
Close your eyes for a minute if you wanna see the world.
Hey, this is Dr. Les Parrott, author with my wife Leslie of the book Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And can I just say thank you for your service to all the military families that are listening. Can't say thanks enough. You're listening to Lifegiver.
Welcome to another episode of Lifegiver Military Spouse Podcast. This is Corey Weathers, and today is the final episode of the Sacred Spaces series. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop talking about sacred spaces, because that phrase has been a catchphrase that has helped a lot of military families really make a lot of progress in their discussions with their spouse. And so you're going to hear me come back to the word and the phrase sacred spaces a lot in this podcast just because it works. And but I am just so appreciative that you guys have joined me along on the journey with this series. There's more series to come, but I have lots of updates for you guys that I wanted to share with you before we get into today's topic. So first of all, this is a different episode because number one, I am recording the video of this as well, and it's going on my YouTube channel because there was a lot of you guys out there that said that you'd like to have the option between listening through the podcast as well as just the audio, and those that wanted to maybe watch a video and actually see a face that's going along with the audio. So this is actually being recorded as well and will be on my YouTube channel for those who would rather watch it or feel like you're interacting a little bit more. So that's what's a little bit different. And also, I wanted to give you some more updates. Some of you listen to these podcasts as soon as they come up, and I am so thankful for that because there's some new information that I'd love to be able to put out there and hope that it's relevant. So if you are listening to it, and it's not a big deal if you wait 2-3 months down the road and decide that you want to listen to it then, but I do want to encourage you guys to start listening to it as soon as it pops up, mainly because I try to give some updates on some things that are coming up and some news and events and things that I want to invite you to participate in. And I'd hate for you to miss those. But again, if you listen to them while you go for a run, like I do for most of my podcasts, and you just listen to them at your convenience, that's the whole point of being able to do something fun like this, is to be able to create something that everybody can connect with whenever they're ready to and whatever time is convenient for them. So those of you who are watching this, I'm coming from my newly designed office. If you can see, my backdrop is gorgeous. My husband did an amazing job making these beautiful panels behind me. Actually, they're on all 4 walls, different colors, of course, but panels on all 4 walls that are soundproofing my office to help reduce some of the echo. Hopefully you're hearing a little bit of a difference, so that the audio quality is a little bit better. And also, he was so sweet to create my little microphone stand, and so it's really fun to have that as well. So, special huge shout out to my husband, who has been a huge supporter of the Lifegiver podcast and to my mission to encourage your marriage through this platform that is not only audio but video as well. So, bear with me, because now that I am doing both at once, I'm wanting to make sure that everything is working according to plan. Of course, the audio version is always going to be a little bit more polished because I can produce that a little bit more and take out a few extra things here and there. But bear with me, because I put out the unpolished edition of the episode last time, and the feedback that I got from people was they didn't even notice the difference. So I'm going to take a little less time to produce some of what I say or the way in which I say it in the future. So that's the other gist for the whole video podcast, is that you can't edit out and little breaks that you take here and there, or sips of water or whatever. So I'm glad to have you with me, and I think that this should be a lot of fun. So a few updates. This one is so exciting. Okay, so as of yesterday, today, this will launch on, this particular podcast should launch on October 1st because I try to put these podcasts out every payday, which means it's the 1st and 15th. Occasionally, I might miss one if I'm in the middle of a trip or something like that, but I really do my best to put these out twice a month. And so as of this week, the Sacred Spaces shop is now open on my website. And so I got a lot of requests for people to sign the Sacred Spaces books. And as well as everybody, especially on the launch team, really loved the bracelets and the cards, the commitment cards that were going out to the launch team and a few of the people who were ordering. And so I wanted to make a way for you to be able to purchase a book. If you want it signed by me, awesome. I'll be happy to do that. If not, but if you want to purchase it from me, you can order it on my website in the Sacred Spaces shop. And also available in there are supplement group kits. So what that means is I think that Sacred Spaces is a really awesome book to read in community, because I think that's the point of the story behind Sacred Spaces, is that we need to be able to share some of these moments in our lives and share some of our sacred space moments and find that community and realize that we all kind of feel the same about a lot of kind of stuff. So a lot of kind of stuff, I'm not sure what that meant, but a lot of stuff, we feel the same. And so I wanted to create a way for groups to be able to have this supplement kit. So basically what you get is you get a really nice quality Sacred Spaces Intentional Marriage Challenge commitment card. Now you can get this card by signing up for my newsletter on my website for free. You can download it as a PDF and cut it out or put it up on your fridge or your bathroom mirror. But this one is a really nice quality, on better than cardstock. It's more like invitation paper. That this was the ones that were sent out to the launch team. So this is a really nice quality, but you can get these as well as the bracelets that went out to the launch team, so that if you're going through the book as a small group, you as a group together can talk about what commitments that you want to make in your marriage. You can make the bracelets as a group and hold each other accountable as a group. And so on the Sacred Spaces shop, you can get those in packs of 10, 20, and 50. So again, the Sacred Spaces shop is now open. You can pay by card, and I will personally ship all of that to you. And you can get books on the shop. You can also get the cards and the bracelets as well in the shop for those that are going through groups. Again, as far as going through this as a small group, Elva Risa is getting ready to put out the book club guide. So very, very soon, we hope to launch the questions that can go along with your book or group. So if you know that you're going to be starting a small group soon to talk about Sacred Spaces, please make sure that you are following me on Facebook or in my newsletter, so that as soon as that comes out, I can make sure that that gets to you. So you can go onto the shop and you can order your supplement kit and hold on to it so that it's ready. So that as soon as you're ready to order those book guides, those will be available for you as well. So that is huge news. I never thought that Sacred Spaces, as of January, it's September now. Actually, it's almost October. But as of January, earlier this year, I would have never dreamed that this would be happening. And on a daily basis, I get emails from people that are telling me how Sacred Spaces is impacting their marriage. And it's so much fun. And it's like one of the best things that I've ever been a part of. So, and I have a lot of you guys to thank for that, for spreading the word and talking about it and sharing it with other people. Also loving hearing from veterans who are writing to Matt and I and just talking about how much it moved them and how understood they felt. And so I'm very proud of that as well. Okay, in other news, coming up in the next 2 weeks is the Military Spouse Wellness Summit for 2016. So I talked about this in the last podcast, and this is super important. Those of you who are listening to this as soon as it's coming out, you can still get a reduced rate on the summit. Basically, the summit is an online virtual week-long summit where you register for it, and every day in your email box for that week, you get 2 interviews from various experts, speakers, and best-selling authors. And so I have done those interviews and produced them, and they will go to your email box. So you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to travel anywhere. And you can sign up for free if you want to do this. In fact, first responder families, please share this with your local communities. First responder families can sign up for free for the Wellness Summit. So there is a free ticket. There's really no excuse for you to miss this. You can listen to it in your convenience, and it's free. Those of you who would like to purchase a VIP ticket, it's seriously only $15 until October 1st. After that, I think it's like $27, but it's totally worth it because it enters you in for prizes like a weekend getaway, our Riveter bags. I mean, there's all kinds of really cool prizes. iPad, I think, is in there. And so you're going to want to sign up for the VIP ticket, not only for the prizes, but so that you can save these interviews so that your spouse can listen to them later. You guys know how difficult, how many times have you listened to this podcast and said, oh, I need my spouse to listen to this part of it or listen to the whole podcast. And then you have to share it with your spouse and get them to listen to it too. Well, the Military Spouse Wellness Summit, in order for you to have those to download and share or give to your spouse or listen to them again, you need to purchase the VIP ticket. And I know it's hard for us to spend money, but I really want to remind you guys that these are amazing top level experts. We're talking about Military Spouse of the Year winners who have gone on to do incredible in business and in their own professions. We're talking about Taya Kyle. We're talking about Dr. Les Parrott, who is an author of I don't know how many books on marriage. Dr. John Townsend, the same thing, New York Times bestselling author on relationships, including marriage. So, I mean, these are amazing speakers. And, I think $27 for an hour of their time, and you're getting 10 hours of all of these people's time is absolutely worth it. So really, there's no excuse to not sign up. The independent girls have done an amazing job putting all of that together. And Armed Forces Insurance, of course, is sponsoring it, along with a bunch of other wonderful daily sponsors. And a lot of shout outs to nonprofits this year who are doing really amazing things. And we want to make sure that we are really talking and shedding some light on what some of these nonprofits are doing. So all of that will happen in the Wellness Summit. So you don't want to miss that. Okay, another update is that next week I am excited to go to AUSA. So it's a huge conference for the Army and for our family members, actually, of military members who are especially Army, are invited to AUSA. I think the conference has like 26,000 people on average that show up for it. And there's also this huge expo, and we're actually going to take our boys out of school and take them to the expo and take them to the conference because there's some great town hall conversations. There's also some really cool like gadgets and armor and things that like some of these companies want to talk with the military and the government about to get contracts. So it's just really cool. So here's what I'm excited to do. You guys know, or you may have seen that my newer nickname is #Correspondent, and I'm having a lot of fun with that considering I'm doing audio and video kind of producing now. And so the AUSA conference, I was speaking on a panel for it last year, but this year I just wanted to have fun. Last year was very serious for me and I worked very hard, and this year I just want to have fun. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my equipment into the AUSA conference and do some really fun interviews, some funny things, hopefully, ask some really silly questions and produce them and put them on my YouTube video, hopefully each night. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm very excited to bring to you, if not some little snippets of things on my YouTube channel, maybe, just maybe, getting some really cool interviews to share with you on the podcast as well. So that's next week. Those of you who would like me to address specific people or have specific questions you want me to cover while I'm at AUSA, please feel to reach out and I will do my best to get those done. Okay, my goodness, that was a lot. So otherwise, I wanted to talk with you guys about the new vision I have for the Lifegiver podcast. It may not come as a huge surprise to you that I've been, my mission statement is breathing life into those that serve. It's really important to me that these marriages, our marriages that work very hard to serve the country and community, are supported, and that we as caregivers, those that sacrifice so much, are taking care of ourselves. And so this podcast is really made for those of you who have these marriages that serve your community or your country. You've heard me talk about first responder marriages a lot, or occasionally here and there. And I have to tell you that this passion of mine is growing more and more each week. last week, I had the chance to go with the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation to Jackson Hole, Wyoming with 10 first responder spouses and 10 military spouses. We took 20 total of them out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where we did an empowerment retreat for spouses where we taught them how to do shotgunning and archery and fly fishing and some things that they normally wouldn't have maybe done for themselves. And I have to tell you, that I love retreats. I'm very accustomed to doing retreats. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. But I have to tell you, the most fun that I had, the coolest part of the entire trip was watching first responder spouses bond with military spouses. Now, you would think that it's kind of obvious that we're a lot alike, but in some ways we're very different too. And the love and connection that I saw between these two groups of spouses was absolutely incredible. And it was amazing to see. And I really grew even more in my desire to serve the first responder spouse families. And so Lifegiver is going to evolve into how do I meet the needs of not only military spouses, but also first responder spouses? Because you have to remember that we as military members have all kinds of benefits, most of which are even our health benefits. Unless you're on TRICARE standard, most of your benefits are free. There's no copay or anything. First responder spouses pay copays. They generally are with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Some of them may have an 80-20 program. They're just different from military. Not to mention, they don't have the counseling resources that we have. They don't have TAPS and all these other organizations that serve military families at various stages of their life cycle or their career cycle. And the more that I'm hearing from them as far as the lack of resources they have, the more I feel a passion to reach out and serve them. And I hope that if you are in a community where you can reach out to some of these first responder spouses, I hope that you will. I hope that you'll maybe do a Sacred Spaces small group and invite some of these first responder spouses to join you. Because I can tell you, when I was in Jackson Hole and we talked about Sacred Spaces and how meaningful they were, I can guarantee you every single one of them in the room was able to identify with that phrase and had similar problems going on in their marriages. And all of them had the same desire to see their marriages succeed. It really was just about building the community, having the right skills, and finding a group of people or finding the resources that really will support them. Of course, we as military, those of us who are in the military now, may not remember or may not have been a part of what happened in Vietnam, where we felt like the United States or citizens were really not supportive of military families and members. We didn't go through that pushback, but these first responder families are currently dealing with that. The stress of the very people that they're trying to protect are also trying to threaten them or attack them, or at least not respect them. And this is not at all, it's not my place to talk about who's right, who's wrong. My job and my passion and my calling is to serve the families that serve. And so Lifegiver is going to really, I think, evolve over time. If you haven't noticed already, the podcast itself on iTunes has now changed to the Lifegiver Podcast for Marriages That Serve, so that I've taken the military spouse out of there. And you'll also see that in other places as well online. And the mission statement itself has evolved into making sure that I'm more inclusive of those first responder families. So otherwise, the vision behind the Lifegiver podcast, I'm going to just see what you guys think about having this video version of it, if you're watching it, and see how it does on the YouTube channel. And I'm also playing with whether or not I can make it live. And so I can't quite get all of my equipment to work right so that I'm recording a podcast and doing like a Facebook Live. I can't get the audio quality to all be the same because I'd have to plug in the audio quality in like 3 different places. And so we're working on that. Matt and I are working on creating a way for me to be able to produce a live version of the Lifegiver podcast that is not only available on the YouTube channel, not only available as an audio podcast, but also available live on the Facebook page. So if you have any comments on that, I would love to hear that as well. to see what you guys like. And I'm trying to give you as many platforms as possible to participate. But I would love to do a live version, and I would love to hear your feedback on that if that would be of interest to you, so that I can do things like taking questions or that sort of thing. So now that I'm talking about it, maybe one of the things that I try to do is a once a month or every other month event that is live, where people can participate live and ask questions. And that would be just fun for something every now and then. So as we are nearing the end of the Sacred Spaces series, I wanted to address a few questions that have come in from people who wanted me to kind of touch on a few topics as it related to sacred spaces. Don't forget that we also go back in the podcast. There's a great interview with Colonel Steve Warren. Those of you who've read the book, he's in the book, and it's a wonderful interview. One of my favorite interviews with Steve Warren. The round table with the 361 girls. If you want a little bit more on that, there's a interview with Lena Steiner that's way back there towards the beginning, that she's also from 361. So we unpack that a little bit more as well. And so there's several different options, but I have a feeling as some of these interviews are made possible, I'm hoping to expand on some of the interviews for Sacred Spaces out of the book. So after today's episode, I have a really fun episode to give you guys next time. That will be October 15th, and that is a special episode on military kids. And so my boys will be joining me for a really great interview. It won't be a video version because, half the time they'd be dancing in front of the camera like all of your children do when they're trying to Skype. So this one is only going to be an audio version. But I ask them some very honest questions about what it's like to be a military kid, and they give some really good, honest answers. And I let them give some tips too, because it gives them a little bit of, power or ability to feel like they're making a difference through difficulty in their own life, when they feel like they can give some tips on some things. So, okay, so let's get into a few of the questions from the Sacred Spaces group that wanted to ask me a few questions on the intentional challenge and how to better their marriages. A lot of these questions came out of conversations that people had with their spouse or with their community after reading Sacred Spaces. So one person asked, what are some healthy ways to live in the disconnect, as well as helpful resources to break the cycle of self-medicating? So basically, this was for service members during reintegration. This is for all different kinds of people, and it's a very big question. But I think the question that they're trying to ask is they wanted to, after years and years of us being separated and our schedules being different and off, the question is, we can feel disconnected after a while. We can feel like we're two different people living independent lives, ships in the night, and we can get really used to just living like that. And I think the question is, how do we live in that disconnect, and how do we break that cycle? So that when you get upset and you want to connect with your spouse and then you choose not to, that you do something for yourself that I guess feels good. They're using the word self-medication instead of connecting with your spouse. And this happens a lot. So for example, during disconnect, you can have service members, I hear this all the time, that are going to video games in order to self-medicate to deal with the tension that they might feel in the home. And it's a self-medicating tool. It makes them feel better in the moment, but it doesn't solve the problem. Also, a good example of that would be alcohol. If they're drinking because they feel the tension, a lot of service members come home and feel like they're not needed in the home. They don't feel like they have a place, or they're struggling with what they brought home with them. And spouses also can be self-medicating when it comes to they feel disconnected, and maybe you got used to having a glass of wine every night that made you feel better, like you were somehow rewarding yourself for getting through the day. And so a lot of spouses find themselves also self-medicating instead of dealing with the root issue. So as far as resources, obviously I'm going to say counseling if it's a huge issue. But how to break the cycle, this is going to sound really straightforward, which is, that's kind of my calling this year. This new year is, I feel a calling to not only live intentionally, but speak truthfully. And so I'm speaking lately with a level of boldness that I want to make sure that I speak truthfully and honestly. Of course, no answer can apply to every single situation. So I want to give that caveat. But I would say that if you want to break a cycle that's in your home, all you can do is all you can do. You cannot change your spouse. You can't force them to stop drinking. You can't force them to stop choosing video games. You can't force them to maybe stop being irritable or aggressive in their anger. We very quickly in marriage, even before we maybe experience the difficulty of military life, realize that we don't have control of our spouse at all. And the sooner we realize this, the better. The sooner we realize that we only have control of ourselves is the sooner we have great influence, and I don't want to call it power as if power over someone else, but you have great influence and a different kind of power in the home. Because when you are in control of yourself and you make healthy choices, it can make the home feel different. It can break patterns that are unhealthy in the home. And so if you feel the tension between you and your spouse and you go to them and you say, hey, I feel like things have been really tense lately. I feel really disconnected. I want to be close to you. I miss you. I love you. And they choose to stay disconnected. I wouldn't want you to nag and chase them. But what you do in that moment matters, and you have great influence when you handle that moment well. And so the next time you have the chance to talk with them and they chose, let's say, video games, you can say, hey, I really do still want to connect with you. And when I tried to bring this up last time and you chose to go play video games, it was very hurtful to me, and I still feel alone, and I still feel like I would like the opportunity to connect with you. But if you continue to choose video games instead of me, I'm going to grow so hurt that I'm going to feel like we're going to grow more distant. And so by being honest and turning the lights on in the room, we've talked about that before in this podcast, of turning the lights on and just kind of pointing out what's already there. It gives them the choice to do something with the truth. And so speaking the truth in love and kindness to break that cycle is really important. So I think the biggest answer to how do you break the cycle is really how do you handle that moment, tell the truth, and point it out, and you start to change the pattern. You start to change the cycle. And that takes a lot of hard work, and it's intense, and it's hard, and it doesn't happen overnight. In fact, that's what these blue bracelets are for. It is this constant reminder of this is hard and difficult for me to stay mature and intentional in choosing to do something that's healthy. And so if I see this bracelet on my wrist every day, it reminds me that I'm going to be a part of a new, healthier pattern, and whatever that is. And it's meant to be hard. It's a process that will change you over time into a more mature, better person. And so that's how you break a cycle, is that you be a part of starting a new one. So, okay, another question is it okay if some days you are totally checked out from life? So if my husband or myself just can't get our head in the game, how do we ask the other person to pick up the slack without feeling guilty? Or do we push through it anyways? Also, sometimes I feel like we fake it until we make it. Is it okay if we fake it sometimes? She's not referencing sex here, by the way, but being present and involved. And so the question is, yes, this is humanity, right? And so this is the issue of there are some days that you're going to be tired. There's going to be days when you're not at your best. And they're feeling kind of checked out, or you want to check out. I think it's absolutely okay to have days like this where you need a break. You know, any of us, if we're being intentional 24/7, it's going to be exhausting. And so when I was on the trip with the Secretary of Defense and I was really working hard to be as intentional as I was exhausted. And I even say in the book, I would not expect people to do this all the time like that. So you do need to give yourself a little bit of a break, as long as you are not going into unhealthy old patterns again. And so you can stay intentional and kind of keep a lookout for all of that, but you definitely want to take a break. And I am a huge fan of faking it till you make it and changing behavior. We're not talking about intimacy here. We're talking about behavior. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't want you to fake your personality, that kind of thing, putting a mask on and being somebody that you're not. But I do love the, eat right and pretend you like it until you learn to like it. That's faking it till you make it. So if you're trying to change your nutrition, eat healthy food, find some healthy recipes, and you can hate it the whole time if you need to, but have a positive attitude about it and fake it until you start to like it. And eventually you will like it. And so when that comes to relationships, yes, there are going to be times when being intentional with your spouse and being mature and not selfish in the moment, you don't really want to do it right then. You really want to fight. Maybe you really want to be the immature one in the moment. And in this situation, you are going to do the right thing, and you may not be able to fake it and look like you're enjoying yourself in the moment, but doing the right thing is more important than not doing the right thing. And so yes, faking it till you make it in those kinds of situations is really important to changing cycles and changing the pattern.